Oh, hello everyone. I'm Renee and welcome to the Shaman's Cave.
Hi everyone, I'm Sandra Ingerman and welcome to the Shaman's Cave.
Well, it has been uh, a rainy time up here in Washington, Sandra. And talk about an obstacle. When you see the rain day after day after day, I think that that's my biggest obstacle at the moment to the sun.
I really love the cold, and so I just came back from a trip where it was supposed to be cold, but it ended up being warmer, so it was a little bit of a disappointment to me. I wish I could send a little sun from where I was, and definitely some sun from New Mexico your way at the moment. But I did. I finally decided to take a vacation after all these years working during the COVID and not really going out much. And I started to become one of those people who were getting a little bit agoraphobic. And so I felt, jump back into life, just jump back in and see how it feels. And it felt really good to get back out there again. And then I came home and I was just met by one problem after another, after another, after another. It was like immediate, you know. The first day home, Bobcat greeted us and a minute of rain. And I don't know if you're aware, but the state of New Mexico is literally on fire right now. And so that 1 minute of rain was just a really true blessing. But then the next day, it was like, here's a problem, the next email, here's another problem, here's another problem. And it felt like an avalanche started coming down on my life. And so I wasn't, for me, everything is about what I'm going through. There's probably a lot of other people going through this, and that's just my way of thinking. I'm thinking my solutions out of a particular issue, but I started to think about how we're just living on a time in the planet where everything is so unstable. And so people keep making plans, but things keep coming in that are asking us to either change paths or to find a new way to find a new way to live, to find a new way to plan, to find a new way to move forward in life.
Yeah, that kind of, there's a lot of obstacles going on. I was thinking as you were speaking about, I always, what you're saying to me sounds like, oh, that's a reentry from vacation. You know, I'm on vacation and I'm trying to, this week I took a staycation and I was going to go somewhere. And then I realized I'm at the very end of building. And so all of the money I have left over needs to, pay for the electrician and all these good things, but it doesn't give me a really nice beach, sand vacation. But when I hear about all the obstacles that you come back to, because I just wonder if when we're just going along in our life, we just get in the, and you and I are a lot like this, that we just handle things, handle,
Right.
handle, 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 handle. So when you get a break from handling, it's like there's this wave of things you've got to deal with when you get back. And so, but it just kind of is this whole unwinding period that we're in. Like, have we made our lives so complicated with so many variables that when we go and take a minute away, that they just really, we see how insurmountable or how many things or boulders are in the way every single day that we just deal with. And then now you add the other things like the weather and what about the parents who can't get formula for their kids? I mean, like shortages, like things like that were really bigger obstacles that are heading our way that we can't even put our brains around at the moment.
Yeah, we're really looking at redoing our lives and setting boundaries, but also looking at this obstacle that comes into my life. Like for me, it's a little bit too soon to. I'm a person who kind of watches and waits just a little bit to see how the energy is going to move. And it's like when boulders just start coming down, are they saying, step carefully over, there's
Right.
something good on the other side, or you're being directed in another direction and it's time for you to make a change. And that I think what I realized yesterday is that so many people I know are really are in that stage right now. Am I being asked to walk carefully over something, or am I being told to run
Hmm.
another direction? And I think that people are really being challenged with that right now because change is happening so fast. There isn't the staff to get services that people need to get anymore. People are struggling financially. Shipping, of course, as we know, as Renee's saying, it's hard to get formula for babies. We're really looking at having to make some really big calls in our life about what's healthy, because when we look at 2D, the collective right now, what we're really seeing is it's almost like a hoarding mentality of, I need to get what I can get right now because I don't know what's coming up for the future. Um, and we're also not really looking at, if we just stay still for a moment, what path is being shown to us. Or a metaphor that I used on Facebook is, how do we place ourselves back into our river, our own river of life, because we're getting caught up in the collective's river, which is very turbulent right now. It doesn't mean it's not going to end up back to source and to a good place, but it's a very, very turbulent ride. And is it your ride or is it somebody else's ride?
I know. I think that's an important question. It's like, I don't know why, but lately I've gotten into reading the news in the morning, which
Yeah,
is totally distracting
yeah,
from, the writing that I want to do, or getting the day organized in another way. And I thought, like, when did this become something that you really, need to know what's going on over here and over there? And it is like that useful information, or is it more important to, I mean, how much information is useful on any given day?
right.
What are the important, what are those important boulders that we need to cross over? I found them whenever I start something new, and I look at starting that in the wind work is in the east, that I'm always going to get tossed back into the emotional, what are my needs and desires around this, and what still needs to be healed in my emotional state in order for me to progress forward. So I think I've kind of gotten used to those boulders and obstacles that always come with starting something new. But then the more our world gets, this big broad world gets smaller and more at our fingertips, we start adding pebbles and rocks and things that wouldn't have even been in our way 10 years ago to add into the mix. I've been A friend of mine's obsessed lately with the global climate initiative. And
Mm,
if I have to hear, tell me one more time, well, you're going to be flooded there, or you're not going to have water there. And it's like, we're talking, and not that this isn't important, but how do I make a difference today?
right.
I don't want to hold that vision that in 20 years I'm going to be in a flood zone, or I'm not in a fire zone. I mean, I can't live my life that way, but these are all the looming characters out there in the cosmos at the moment. And I really find that this information overload is an obstacle towards, everyday present living.
Yeah, what it's doing is it's throwing us out of our center. It's
Hmm.
throwing us out of our center. And like you, Renee, before I got really involved in the internet, and I always said I was like the last person to get an email address.
But
And I always said the day I get on the internet, my life is over. And it was. um, and a friend of mine who's a brilliant journeyer, she said her spirits just gave her a message. She didn't ask because I didn't ask her to journey. Her spirits gave her a message and tell Sandra to go back before she said that. Go back and redo that statement. Not that my life will be over after I get on the internet, but what I would do is it was back when we had the old phone voicemails, and I never checked my voicemail. I did not take a step out of bed. My amazing husband would bring me a cup of tea in the morning, so I didn't even put my foot on the ground. And the very first thing I did was picked up my drum and did a half an hour journey every single morning, 7 days a week. And then as the internet became more important to my work and more important to my life, it was I have to check my emails first. And that was it was a big error on my part because I think I lost that ability to start my day filled with spirit. I still kept up the practices. I teach in healing with spiritual light and the transfiguration. I've never stopped that, how to heal toxic thoughts. That's just in me. It's in me. It's just how I live. But really being able to get that deep wisdom from the spirits, we've cluttered our lives so much with what we think is more important than our spiritual practices. People I know, teachers I know, they're not starting their day with their yoga practices. They're not starting their day with their meditations. They're starting their day reading the news.
right, that's new for me. I'm going to stop that. Right, I'm going to cancel my subscription and stop with that news that's there first thing every day, because it's enticing. It's
Mhm.
like it's an enticing obstacle from that present moment. And I, doing a staycation, I noticed how many obstacles I had to resting.
Right.
Like that, that there would be like, oh well, oh, but an email came into the work email. Like, well, if I was really being present to my staycation and not looking for these, these disruptions are as obstacles, and not to mention, the ones that the weather patterns are just putting in our way to start with. I mean, this week, one day the internet was out, and another day, the power lines blew out. And, this is like real life things coupled with these imaginary obstacles we put in the way. It keeps us really, like you said, away from our center. And I think that imagine if all the people in the world got back into their center and started to listen from that inner place, what better
Mhm.
decisions we would make going forward.
Oh yeah, I kind of feel and I've talked about this on another show. I I love ants, and so we have these gigantic anthills at my house that I just let go because I love them and I love to watch their behavior. And I learned something very interesting the other day that ravens and ants have a very symbiotic relationship. Ravens will put the ants um, into their They don't have fur, wings, and the ants clean them, which is really interesting.
Hmm.
But that's an aside. I'm
I
sorry.
like that aside. That's a great aside. Who
um,
knew?
yeah, I never knew they had that kind of, but I've watched their behavior for years and years. They have an order, and if something happens, I've had children. Most of my shamanic practice was working with children, and I'd have these little kids that were, too much energy, too much sugar, mom wasn't cutting down their sugar intake, and they'd run out and they'd start stamping on the anthills immediately, how little kids get. And you watch the chaos, all of a sudden what was in perfect order is now in imperfect chaos. And so I use that metaphor for what's happening in the collective right now. It's like a force came in and it stepped on an anthill that was in kind of in order. I mean, we've been kind of crazy for, many, many years now, probably a few thousand years. But the chaos that we're seeing right now, and people turning to authority after authority after authority, tell me what to do, tell me what to do, because I don't know how to live my life anymore in this kind of chaos. And these authority figures don't know what to do. They're sharing what they know. They're trying to be helpful, but it really is, what do you know inside yourself? What direction are you being given? And how you can be in service to yourself and how you can be in service to others, and what boundaries that you have to set.
Yeah, that I think that you're so right. It's like we can't change everything out there, but what boulders, what obstacles can we remove in our own life? And I really mean that obstacles like getting rid of the news that's coming in through my email. To me, that's an obstacle keeping me from writing.
Right.
Or, like really what are the obstacles that I need to overcome in order to take a vacation? I was like really happy for you that you got out, because thinking about going out, I mean, and talk about an obstacle, feels a little bit overwhelming, because every single day, if you're reading the news, you're getting hit with the Omicron's hitting 2 and 3 times. It's not going away. Well, I mean, anyone who thought that the COVID was going to go away was probably, having blinder glasses on as an obstacle. And so like really, if you start to remove the blinders, and what are the important things, and what are the important obstacles to move out of your backyard, out of your community, out of your neighborhoods, and really get back to those primary steps.
Right. And learning how to get back into your own river again, because you do have a destiny. And we did a show on judgment recently, which was a very, very popular show.
Hmm.
We got a lot of good feedback from the show that we did on people who are sensitive, overly sensitive, and people who feel that they haven't been able to truly embody because of the judgment that society and other authority figures have been put on them. So, who am I and where am I? And now the whole picture of life is changing, and where am I in my environment? And of course, people are running around like ants that got their hive destroyed. They're running around the country trying to figure out where is a safe place to live. And back in the old days, it was amazing how many people asked me to journey on where people should move to. And there is a brilliant journey for this, and sometime we could actually do this if people are interested in it. It's a aware journey, and it's a very powerful journey. But what my main teacher, Isis, has shared with me is you find a place that feels like home and you stay there and you deal with the obstacles that are coming up. You don't keep running around the country looking for a safe place to be. And we really need to look at where we're going. There's so many people who are going into a place of panic that's bringing them into such a place of exhaustion. We're being bombarded by the news, we're being bombarded by the EMFs, and what we don't realize is that the people who are listening to our show, most of you are sensitive women and sensitive men, that in the old times you would be the healers, the psychic, the mystics, the shamans in your community. Are you doing your destiny? If you are sensitive, are you getting caught up in everything that's getting wrong in the world, or are you developing your gifts that will help you and the rest of life move forward?
Mm. Yeah, that reminds me. I was met with a big obstacle a couple of weeks ago, and the way that I teach is that I model my humanness. Like I in the group, it was like, hey, yeah, I'm struggling, and everyone's there like, oh, you're modeling something. I'm going, no, I'm just two hands in this circle, and we're all holding hands, and this is my vision of community that I can show up as Renee today, and Renee might be struggling with a big obstacle that, a boulder in my path. And I want to be here and be safe in this community with all of my rawness and my obstacle. Not that I have to go into it deeper than, you might need to know, but that in my humanness, that community is our salvation. And being able to bring those bigger rocks and putting them in the center of the community, not just throwing them out in the ethers for whoever to pick up, but to have a really solid circle around you so that together you can lift some of those heavier boulders is really crucial. I just think it is really, really important that I think what this experience of COVID is showing us is that all we really have is our presence, our source, and our community who's supporting us, because everybody I know is struggling.
Yeah.
So can we help each other carry the load? And I think I remember many years ago I was in Peru and the shaman goes, "Oh my God, you guys have such emotional baggage." Now I'm thinking, God, I wonder what they would say about the rocks we're going to throw into the river now. That there's just so much collective baggage as well as all of our little emotional, blocks and obstacles.
Yeah, I wrote about in my Transmutation News, which is my monthly newsletter. And I don't know if I said this on the show, but this is just my own opinion. This is not from a journey. This is just coming from Sandra Ingerman, not coming from the spirits. That the COVID is an amazing teacher for us, because the COVID is a virus. We're a virus on the earth. I think most people recognize that. And the COVID is acting as a community. So they mutate, they merge, they mutate, they merge, they mutate, they merge, and they're helping each other. And so what we're doing is a new variant comes, we divide. A new variant comes, we divide even more. Divide, 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 divide,
Mhm.
don't come together. So I believe the COVID came here to teach us about unity.
Mm.
And I believe that part of global change is just the earth evolving as it always has been. There's water where there used to be earth, and there's earth where there used to be water. And That's been happening since the beginning of time, but climate change is also talking to us about, why are you putting poison into the water? Why are you putting poison into the air? Why are you putting poison into the earth that you're eating from? You know, in America, this is different in some European countries, although it's becoming quite the same. People are just getting sick from the food that's being grown here because we're putting so much toxins into everything that we eat. So I'm not trying to depress anybody, because I do believe
Oh
that
no.
we can work with light to transform those toxins, but people want to do the dramatic ceremonies in shamanism, but they don't want to get up every day and thank the earth, the air, the water, and the sun and fire for the life that it brings to us. And that's probably the most important ceremony that we can actually do if we're looking at helping environmental issues.
Hmm. I absolutely agree. I mean, there's just so many burdens out there, but they're not all yours to carry. And so, why don't you lay down some of those burdens and really take a look at, getting back to your basics, whatever that looks like for you. And I just discovered one on this call, that I'm going to get rid of the newspaper in my phone, because I can't help but get curious about what's going on here and there, when it's not really as important as the beach cleanup that's going on in my neighborhood tomorrow.
Right.
And so I just want to re-emphasize that part of the obstacles are self-created. And so if I can remove some of those, let me get back to the business of living.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's really important. The staying present to look at what's being presented to you, and realizing that the internet has brought a lot of magic into our life, but it's made us too aware of issues going on in the world that we just have no power to change
Right.
whatsoever. We have no power to change these whatsoever. The only thing that we can do is be a light to ourselves and be a light to the world, and be part of a community and support each other. And then our obstacles seem a little bit less, but I do believe that we're all being challenged right now. And I keep saying this over and over again, but in different ways. We're being challenged to evolve.
Hmm.
So look at, are the obstacles trying to say to you, this direction is now closed,
Hmm.
another path is opening. Just just take the time to imagine that for yourself, and to trust the insights that you get. Because again, I can't imagine anybody listening to the Shaman's Cave who is not a sensitive person, who is not getting downloads, but are you listening to them?
Right. This is the time for the wind walk. And like we said earlier, though, to know that sometimes the boulders in the road are to go over, because you get learning on the top of the rock. So, but if you're not quiet enough to hear, what is this obstacle trying to share with me, then you miss the point,
Right,
and it just becomes more of a heavy rock burden you're slugging over your shoulder. So we really need to take those morning breaths, those morning gratitude exercises, and really get centered, so that when we open up our e-news to all of the obstacles ahead of us, we know which ones are for us.
that's right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think enough said on that, on those subjects. Do you have anything?
Well, I thought that maybe we could end by singing a healing song that I teach in my workshops, to ask for a healing from the sun. The sun is the greatest giver of life, and there would be no life on earth without the sun. And back in ancient times around the world, not just in shamanic cultures and other traditions too, it was never believed, it was never taken for granted that the sun was going to come up every day.
Mm.
So people drummed up the sun and they sang up the sun and they danced up the sun. Sun, please give us the life that we need to be able to thrive in our lives. And so I have been teaching this song for 40 years, and it is amazing the miraculous healings that people have reported to me by going out and singing this song every day to the sun. So this is a way for you to start to be able to honor the elements and maybe bring it into your community. At some of my Medicine for the Earth workshops, well, all of my Medicine for the Earth workshops, we go out and we drum up the sun together.
I love that.
It's a great thing to do in community, great thing to do. So the song goes like this, and I'll sing it through once and just kind of follow in with me. There are 4 verses of the song, and it goes like this. You think about, what do you want the sun to take from you today, to take out of your body a boulder, an obstacle, an intrusion, out of your emotional body, out of your physical body, down to the water, down to the cool waters down below that has the ability to transform that into pure light and healing for all of life. So it goes like this. Morning sun, come my way, come my way. Morning sun, come my way, come my way. Come my way, come my way, take my pain, take my pain. Come my way, come my way, take my pain, take my pain. Take my pain, take my pain, down below, down below. Take my pain, down below, down below. Down below, down below, cool waters down below. Down below, down below, cool waters down below. Should we try it one time together, or do we have it? What do you think, Renee?
That was great. I think we got it. I sang along with you. And what I'll do is I'll have Tyler pull it out so we can have the verse of it as well.
Great. Yeah.
That was really wonderful. Oh, well, that was such a nice treat. And know what? The sun came out while you were singing.
I know.
Yay!
The sun's starting to peek into my window. So the sun is there for us. The wind is there for us. The waters of the world are there for us. The earth is there for us. Our communities are there for us. So as the obstacles keep coming and testing us and testing our abilities, turn to the love of your community, turn to the love of nature, and you will enter into a new dimension and step out of the craziness that human beings are intent on creating at this particular point in time. So I send blessings to you all.
That was awesome. And remember, stay with us because we're real and we're going to be here every week at shamanstv.com talking about how we're moving through these boulders and how we move through these obstacles because we're part of the community and we're right here with you. So make sure you hit subscribe and we'll see you next week.